Greetings all, BWS2K here again with the next part of our breakout series that we're doing. I'm joined of course by Scott, Nate, and Chris of the Summers family. I did do the disclaimer last time. I hope that wasn't a huge problem, but I'll put it up again. None of this material, I own both of these books. All the pictures except for one picture, which you'll see, is from this material, but I obviously don't make any money off of these videos or this content. It's not my own original content, so please don't cancel my channel. So we're going to pick up where we left off last time. If you remember, we had the scene with Storm and Carnage, and that actually was a pretty quick encounter. It was over pretty quickly, and then the rest of the team joined Storm. From there, we kind of closed out the first act of the event. So what we have happen is S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of gets their bearings and is able to lock things down, and inmates are able to be assessed and, you know, put in their own cells and everything. But they discover that someone is missing, and that someone is Max Dillon, who is Electro. Now, I'm going to give you a spoiler. It's a mini spoiler? Well, it's a major spoiler, I guess, but it's a major spoiler for something which, if you have the book at all, you probably already know. In the comics and in the event in the book, Max Dillon helps Carl Lycos to escape to the Savage Land, and that's the second act. I'm spinning things around a little bit because sometimes I do that. So Max Dillon has escaped, but Sauron, who is Carl Lycos' alter ego, or maybe it's the other way around, depending how you want to consider it, has a cell next to Max Dillon, we're going to say. And his relationship with the X-Men is such that he spots them on the scene and is able to kind of convince them that Max, he knew where Max was headed. He knew where Electro was going, and he was going to the Savage Land. And that doesn't sit well with Carl Lycos at all. So he convinces the X-Men to bring him along in their search. So the team is going to split up. So we're going to have Storm, Beast, and Carl Lycos go to the Savage Land, while Cyclops and Colossus stay and help out S.H.I.E.L.D. So they'll have a S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, sort of Quinjet or whatever the equivalent is for S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't, do they call them Quinjets? I'm not sure. But they'll fly to the Savage Land, the three of them. I imagine that Carl is in his bright orange shield jumpsuit, and probably I was thinking probably not something so confining as like leg irons and like huge like super powered cuffs, but he's probably got like some handcuffs holding him behind his back, because he is somewhat of a threat in his human form, but not really, not a whole lot. And he is ostensibly trying to help out. Whether or not they trust him in the end, we're going to see how that plays out. So we're going to pick with the three of them headed to the Savage Land. I did this for a couple reasons. Oh, actually, yeah, I wanted to cover the conversion piece. But before I talk about what's on the screen, I just wanted to mention, in the I've said I've run this a lot of times before. So there's always like things that happen, like that occur to me. They're like, oh, I should do this next time. And then I get either carried away with the session and I forget, or it doesn't make sense or whatever. So I'm actually doing something here that as I said in the first video, it's kind of one of those things I've always wanted to do. Okay, what you're seeing on your screen is the data file from the book for Carl Lycos / Sauron. He is a GMC, or a narrator character, or a watcher character, I guess is what they call it in Marvel Heroic. But you can convert them easily, and in fact, he's easier to convert. He is not a well, he's not a minor GMC. Like, his affiliation dice are 10, 6, and 8, like a normal PC character. So converting him over actually wasn't very difficult. And if you look on the screen, his first power set is perfectly fine, as is. There's nothing that needs to be changed there. The second power set is his Pteranodon form. And I actually did change. So there's one thing that has to be changed, which is down by Cold Vulnerability, where it says add D6 to the Doom pool. That should be gain a plot point. Excuse me. So when you're the Watcher, like your perk or your bonus, when you hinder or when something happens, you get a plot point. I mean, excuse me, you get a Doom die. That's analogous to a player getting a plot point. So we switch that around. But also, I don't know who this Sauron is in these comics. And to be honest, he just shows up and like has fire breath. Like he jumps up out of the bushes after they've had their first encounter, and he just starts breathing fire. It comes out of nowhere. The Sauron that I'm familiar with is from like the older days when he had like hypnotism eyes, which fits because he's a hypnotherapist. Carl Lycos is. So I didn't really know where the fire blast thing came from. So I actually changed that sort of in the conversion process. So if I scoot over, you can see, and I'll zoom in a little bit because I know it's kind of tinier print. Not a whole lot changed. I made the distinctions a little bit more wordy. Sovereign of the Savage Land, complicated physiology, and gifted hypnotherapist. So his complicated physiology is he is not a mutant. He was bitten by a pteranodon, and so he is now an energy vampire, and if he leeches energy from mutants, he turns into his pteranodon form, Sauron, named after Tolkien's Sauron from Lord of the Rings. I love everything about the origin story, and I actually discovered that originally he was supposed to be a vampire, but the Comic Code Authority was like, no, you can't. That, like, I guess maybe it would have been too gory or something like that. So they changed. The quote was something like, "So we thought, what's the next most scary thing after a bat, a vampire bat? A pteranodon." And that's what they went with. And I love the clunky, like Frankenstein haphazard nature. Like before he even gets onto the page, he's got all these like funky, quirky things. So I love Sauron. So his energy vampire power set has remained the same, untouched, no problems there. Pteranodon form, I exchanged the Energy Blast D8 for Mind Control D8, and then changed the SFX that allowed it to become Flame Breath or Flame Attack or whatever. I changed it to an SFX called Seeing Things, which is basically just the construct SFX. Add a D6 and step up your effect die when creating hallucination complications with Mind Control. He has this like, I mean, theoretically it could be used for anything because it's like a hypnotism sort of thing, but mostly it's like a terror hallucination, kind of like Danny Moonstar, same vibe as Danny Moonstar. But he still has the Talons SFX, the Cold Vulnerability, and all the same specialties. And I was looking for the old picture, and I was trying to figure out a way to put it on the sheet, but this is the best we can do, and I was like, you know what? I'm happy with that. Just a little black and white. This is my version. This is the BW Sauron, with genes that probably need to be replaced every time he changes back and stuff because he's got a tail. I love it. I love everything about it. So that's our Sauron that we're going to be using that's accompanying the team. Okay, let's get the story started. So we are traveling, the three of them in this jet, Shield Quinjet, to the Savage Land, which they've all been to before, so it's not a huge deal in terms of navigation. Carl spots a clearing, says that looks like a good place. I'm not going to do voices again, but if I did voices, I tend to feel like the Sauron voice is something like Starscream Cobra Commander with like a hint of dark side. And I know that sounds like an odd combination. You're welcome, that's Sauron. But I feel like it's that. But as Carl Lycos, he's just a regular smooth-talking kind of eccentric / borderline creepy hypnotherapist, doctor. But of course, he's an inmate at the raft. He's a criminal. So they land, and he points out the clearing, and they land, and then right away they exit the craft. Now, in this picture, you see some different heroes. That's just one of Sauron's hallucinations that must be affecting us, because clearly our game does not include Iron Man or Luke Cage or Spider-Man or Captain America. Definitely it's Storm, Beast, and Carl Lycos that have just exited the craft as it gets blown to bits, and giant roar, Jurassic Park style. It's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. How did the Tyrannosaurus Rex sneak up on them in the craft? I said Jurassic Park style. He was there, and it happened, and we move on. But so he smashes the Quinjet, and it's up in flames, boom, immediately. And there's smoke everywhere, and flames, the fuel goes spilling out in flames. And then from the trees on the other side of the clearing come this mob of what are called mutates, which are kind of like the inhabitants of the Savage Land, who are, I think they're kind of like the Neanderthal stereotype, sort of primitive, but they live in a land, the Savage Land has like high technology ruins and things like that, so they're by no means primitive in that sort of like Luddite way. They're a different. They're not mutants, but they're not humans, like baseline humans. What am I trying to say? They're not Homo superior, but they're not Homo sapien. But I think they're probably closer to Homo sapien. At any rate, they jump out and they start running with their, spears and knives and things like that across the clearing. So we've got two major threats. We've got T-Rex on one side, and we've got the mutates closing in on the other side. We've got our three heroes, or two heroes and neutral in the middle, and this is how we're going to begin. So our first action scene, I can zoom out again. This is 80%, but that'll work. We have the gigantic T-Rex and the mob of mutates. I'm not going to bother reading their data files for you, but suffice it to say, I'm sure you'll pick up the salient points as we play. Two scene distinctions. Again, dangerous flora and fauna, which if you played a game with me, I love that distinction. It just basically means everything is dangerous. Dangerous flora and fauna, and then tropical wilds. Our doom pool starts at 3d6. We have the gigantic T-Rex, who is a large-scale threat, has 3 d8 solo dice, so kind of like a mob. We're going to be knocking out those d8s in order to take down the gigantic T-Rex, either through stress or complications. And then we have our mob of mutates, which is actually almost identical to the mob of inmates on the raft. We have Storm, we have Beast, and we have Sauron. So I didn't even put his name on his sheet. Well, his picture is there. Everyone knows who it is. So we will start with, I say the T-Rex smashes the jet, and the mutates are coming. It does feel like, if you remember last time, we let Beast go first because he has both the reflexes and the senses that kind of set him a cut above. So we'll let him go first. And the question is, what does he want to do? So I'm going to zoom back in so we can read his sheet a little bit better. The question is, what do we want Beast to do? So with his strength, and I think he has combat, his combat expert, he could certainly attack the mob. If he does it right off, that's going to be solo, which is a d6. So maybe Storm, who is kind of the de facto leader here, is going to concoct a plan, and maybe she shouts out that Beast and what she probably says is Beast, you take care of the mob, and I'll try to. No, I think it would be the opposite. I think she would say, I'll take care of the mob, and Beast, you distract the T-Rex, because that probably feels a little bit more accurate, because she can do like a whirlwind on the mob or something like that. She doesn't give directions to Carl Lycos, but I think Carl is going to chase after the T-Rex as well, because if he can get his hands on it, he can do some energy leeching. So that's what we're going to do. So there's kind of this coordinated effort. Storm has issued directions. It's not technically a buddy action since all three of them are doing it, even though she was kind of only directing it at Beast. We talked about affiliations and how they're kind of wibbly wobbly. So that's what we're going to do for Beast's turn. He's going to jump up on the T-Rex or attack the T-Rex, and I think probably he's just going to try to distract it, like doing flips and things like that to sort of mentally confuse it. We'll do mental stress. So let's do that. So let's get our pool together. Scoot my thing over here. He is team 1d10. We are going to use, let's see, we have dangerous flora and fauna and tropical wilds. Let's go dangerous flora and fauna at d4 to get him another plot point. That's one of the scene distinctions. Because he is trying to distract the T-Rex, but he is trying to distract the T-Rex. So dangerous flora and fauna, I think, can be hindered. Then we'll go to bestial mutant power set. This is reflexes, superhuman reflexes, because he's kind of like jumping and rolling and things like that. Claws and fangs, oh my stars and garters. We're not going to use oh my stars and garters right now. It would reduce the doom dice, I guess, but I don't really feel like spending plot points just yet. I don't think Beast would do that. But acrobatic master, 1d10. So we've got 1, 2, 3 d10s and a d4. There's no stress on the T-Rex. There's no other assets or complications or anything. So yeah, we're good to go. And this will be to do mental stress on the T-Rex. Beast's total. So we have an 8, a 7, and a 6. So let's add the 8 and the 7 for a total of 15 with d10 effect for mental stress on the T-Rex, But he did roll a hitch, so we'll give him another plot point, and then we will add to the Doom pool. We will bump up one of these D6s to a D8. Oops. Okay, yep, sorry, I don't need to go down there. I need to look at the T-Rex now. So the T-Rex needs to roll a reaction roll. It's solo, so it gets the 3 D8s for being solo. Huge head, little arms, crushing feet, thick skin. What do we think fits the most? Crushing feet, probably. Yeah, that's probably what would be preventing Beast from anything, is the crushing feet. The idea that he doesn't want to get stepped on. And then Menace Expert. Do we want to include Menace Expert? Yeah, I mean, he's scary. Beast could be frightened. This is probably not going to roll that high, but it might roll high enough. Hey, that's not bad. So we can add the 9 and the 8. We can add the 9 and the 8 for a total of 17. And we can add, total of 17. We can use the D8 effect die. T-Rex. I mean, how do we say this? Beast fails. And then T-Rex spends a Doom die to make Beast scared. So, well, do we want to say scared? Maybe he just gets hit by the feet and gets a physical stress. Yeah, let's go with that. To stomp on Beast. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend that D8 from the Doom pool that we have to keep our D8 effect die. And in so doing, we sort of counterattack to Beast with a D8 physical stress. So this represents the fact that Beast was kind of jumping, dodging, trying to get the attention of the T-Rex and distract him, and Beast succeeded in doing that. He did not succeed in avoiding the crushing feet. And so he is sort of like, poof, kicked back and is hurt as a result. So that's Beast's turn. Next, I think we'll have Storm go next, because she is going to address the mob. Does that feel like that's appropriate? I kind of want to go with Sauron next, actually, because he also was running after the T-Rex. So let's do that. So Sauron, is going to make an attack to try to absorb. He's going to use Leech. He's going to try to absorb some of the strength from the T-Rex. So this pool is going to be put together, and it's that first SFX, that boost SFX, which says, spend an effect die from a roll, including Leech, to add or step up durability, strength, or speed. So spend an effect die from a roll. Spend an effect die from a roll. Presumably meaning, like, that would be your roll, I guess. So there's an action and a reaction, but if he succeeds, then that effect die doesn't actually do stress. It becomes his strength. All right. Right? Mutant Mimic, Transformation. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. So he doesn't have access to that second power set yet right now. But he is going to look at Beast kind of getting knocked over, and he's just going to, like, chuckle like, you know, amateurs or whatever, because this is his home. Like, he knows T-Rexes, he knows dinosaurs. So even though he's, like, cuffed, he's going to jump up onto the back of the T-Rex and try to, like, I mean, obviously he couldn't reach over the entire head of the T-Rex, but just try to, like, grab on as best he can and try to actually start leeching energy from the T-Rex. So that's going to be, this is definitely a solo action at this point. He's not really operating as a team, because he wasn't told to do this, even though, well, we did let Beast use it as a team. Okay, we'll go with team. Follow my own soft lock rules a little bit here. Although the situation has definitely changed in the fact that Beast is down. I can see a case for either one, but no, I think it needs to be solo. This is being described as like a selfish move that he's doing, because he's not defeating the T-Rex even. He's feeding off it to make himself. Yeah, this is solo. I mean, he can play with a team, but he's sovereign of the Savage Land, and that's what we're going to give him is Sovereign of the Savage Land, 1d8. Energy Vampire. So we're going to do Leech at 1d10. And then Tyrannodon form doesn't matter. Medical, Science, and Tech Master. I mean, do we want to include Medical? We have 3 dice. Yeah, let's leave it like that. Let's leave it like that. It's only 3 dice. Okay, so we can do a total of 12 with D10 to leech strength from the T-Rex. So the T-Rex, this would be, I think, thick skin, probably? Yeah, so 3d8s for being solo. Ferocious, hungry, and stupid. Let's use ferocious. Let's use ferocious as a d8 because he's not interested. Actually, let's use hungry as the d8 because he would love to make a snack out of any of these fools who are trying to mess up his day. He's just like, he likes stomping on jets. Why they gotta ruin his fun? And this is gonna be thick skin, 1d10. Menace Expert, again, I mean, I use the Menace Expert because basically it's a giant dinosaur, so most of us would be somewhat frightened or somewhat wary. It didn't work out for Beast. So this is his reaction roll. We can make a 13 easy. So let's do that. So total, T-Rex's total, 13 with another D8. But we don't have any D8s in the Doom pool that we can spend. We don't have a D8 or larger in the Doom pool that we can spend. Sauron fails. Now, let's read Sauron's sheet again. Spend an effect die from a roll, including a leech, to add or step up durability, strength, or speed. Notice, I guess I didn't read it very carefully before. It doesn't say you have to succeed. Intriguing. Spend an effect die. So is that something that needs to be converted over and just wasn't? Well, maybe if you were using the Doom pool, you would spend a die, like do sort of like the counterattack, like spend a die of the same size to keep it. So maybe that conversion would be to spend a plot point, which he doesn't actually have on his sheet, but which I will pretend like he has one. But then what would be the point of failing? I guess to roll the ones. I'm sorry, I'm thinking through this, but I'll leave it in the video because this is the kind of stuff that happens, right? He failed. No, you know what? Easy. We'll go with the Occam's razor. He failed, so he failed. So he's trying to leech energy, and maybe he does leech some, but the T-Rex is able to just throw him off before he's able to get anything of substance from the T-Rex. Yeah, fair, but let's make sure we give him his plot point because he didn't start with one. Alright, so that's Sauron's turn. Now we're going to have the T-Rex go. We're kind of focused on the T-Rex, and then we'll shift over to the mutates. So we'll have the T-Rex go, and then we'll have the mutates go, and then we'll have Storm go. So the T-Rex is going to area attack, try to stomp on Beast and Sauron, because Sauron's just been thrown, he's on the ground. That's what we're going to do. Or that's what he's going to do. 3d8s for solo. Ferocious, 1d8. And Crushing Feet, 1d10. Now he has area attack, so we'll give him an extra d6. He's attacking 2 targets, Beast and Sauron. Charging Smash, double or step up Crushing Feet on an action against 3 or more targets, so can't be used here. And then Menace Expert, 1d8. right. So this is to do physical stress to Sauron and Beast. 3 1s. Wow. All right. Well, I think Beast is going to buy one of those. I mean, he's got so many plot points. And we'll figure out exactly what the stunt is later that he does. The other folks only have 1 hit point, so they're going to stay. But we do have a decent total. We have an 8 and a 7, which we can make into a 15. With D8 to Sauron and D6 to Beast, because of course the D6 is going to step up Beast's stress anyway, if it succeeds. And that was physical stress. Not bad, not bad. So let's have Beast roll. Oh, you know what though? He gets to add the highest complication and stress someone else has, which means he gets to add in the D8 from Beast's stress. Does that make a difference for anything? Not really. So we could theoretically say, well, instead of doing the D6 to Beast, make it another D8, but it won't matter because both of them would just step up Beast's stress 1 step. So in this case, the extra D8 didn't really amount to anything. Alright, so let's have Beast do his reaction roll. Is he acting as team right now? I mean, he's barely acting as buddy. This feels very much like a solo action. He's been rebuffed, knocked to the ground, and he has to escape the T-Rex. Storm did not order him to escape from the T-Rex, and he is on the ground, so I feel like this is a pretty solid solo action. If he was working somehow to coordinate his moves with Carl, then I could see a buddy, but he's not, because Carl isn't going to be a buddy. Okay, so 1d6 solo, smartest man in the room. Let's use smartest man in the room at d4 to get a plot point, because smart men don't typically tackle Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Enhanced durability feels like, well, I mean, he would try to dodge. He would try to dodge, so we'll use superhuman reflexes. I mean, he's trying to roll out of the way. None of that matters. And then acrobatics master. And there's no stress or anything on the T-Rex. So this is that. Beast rolls 2 1s. Well, Beast is king of the plot points. Take a plot point. I'm going to add a d8 into the doom pool. Which is to say, I will add a d6 and then step up the lowest die. Because there's 2 1s there. Or I'll add a d6 and step it up, I guess, is how we should word it. But things are not good for Beast. Beast's total. Because I can't even spend a plot point to like keep extra dice here. There's only 2 dice I can use, a 2 and a 3. 5 with d4 effect. So Beast, so the T-Rex's total was 15. That's 2 heroic successes. Beast is stomped. So the stress that was coming to him was a d6, which is going to get stepped up twice. So I guess it would have made a difference to choose the d8 in this case. Does it feel like we would have done that? We said d6. We could do that. We could say it was a d8, because I like the idea of him having d12 stress. So what we're doing, we're retconning a little bit. So that 5 that we rolled, that d8 that's Beast had as stress that we kind of forgot about and then added in afterwards, it does technically make a difference. For the exact point that I pointed out, it didn't make a difference, because in this case there actually is some heroic successes going on. So we're going to say that his it was originally an 8 going to Beast, which is going to be stepped up to a 10 to a 12. So Beast is at d12 physical stress. So Beast is trying to dodge and roll out of the way, but he dodges the right foot, hits the left foot, gets stomped. He's very, very hurt now. Carl is all about that. Like, he doesn't care. Fine, whatever. These chumps gave him a ride home. Sovereign of the Savage Land, competing physiology. So this is a reaction roll. He's trying to dodge. What would he be doing? Would he also be dodging? Yeah, I think he's more skilled at it, though. So Sovereign of the Savage Land again as a d8. Enhanced reflexes, 1d8. none of that matters. Medical science, tech, those things don't matter. I'm just wondering. Maybe I'll use Sovereign of the Savage Land as a D4. But that's against a 15. I don't want to have a heroic success against me. Yeah, we'll leave it as 2 d8s. A d10 and 2 d8s. That's not a big pool. Oh, but you know what we could do? We could spend the plot point. Spend an effect die from a roll, including leech. Oh, we'd have to spend 2 because we'd have to spend it to keep it. And then step it up. Yeah. Alright. Sauron's total is 12 with D4 effects. He takes, what was the stress coming to him? D8? So D8 physical stress. And I will give him another plot point. And step up another one of my D6s. So this, I honestly think, as far back as I can remember, I think this might be the most reckless, like the most damage the T-Rex has ever done to any of the characters. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so next we have Storm. Storm is dealing with the mob. So she is going to basically just do like a whirlwind to try to get them all up and just blow them all back into the jungle. Pretty easy. This, unfortunately, however, she is doing, I guess, what she said she would do as part of the team effort, but she is separated from them and kind of off doing her own thing, even though it is what she said she was going to do. So we'll go solo, 1d8. For her, we will go strong-willed leader, 1d8. And this is weather supremacy, I think, 1d12. We're trying to just blast them all back into the jungle. We're going to use area attack here. There is 5 dice here. Let's zoom out. I'm really zoomed in. Oops. There's 5 of them, so there's going to be 4 extra d6s for the attack. And nothing else matters. And then combat expert. Alright, so she rolled a 1. So we'll give her a plot point for that. And let's step up this last d6 to a d8. So our doom pool is now 3 d8s. And for her total, let's go all 3 of the 6s. Does that make sense? Yeah, let's spend a doom die to keep a 3rd total die. Oops. And we'll go 6, 6, and 6 for a total of 18. So it's going to be a D12 with D12. 1, 2, 3 D6s and 1 D4 effect to blast the. So I guess this would be like a complication, like a high winds complication. High winds complication on mob of mutates. Alright, so we'll come up to the mob of mutates. They're gonna get, I mean, they're not even trying to dodge this so much, they're just rushing. So 5d6 for their dice, brutish, mutated, and savage. I think I might actually use brutish, just in the sense that they aren't really using any kind of tactics here, as a d4, and step one of my d8s up to a d10. And then swarm, because there's just so many of them. Yeah. Yep, that sounds about right. So the best they can do without spending any dice is an 11, which gives Storm a heroic success. Yep, I think that's what they got to do, because the dice need to be saved for the T-Rex and the showdown. So like before, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of dice to keep the mutates in. So mutates is total of 11. With now we could choose the D8 effect, which would step down the D6s and the D4. If you're reacting with a higher effect die, even if you lose, your higher effect die will step down the incoming stress or complication, the incoming effect die. But that feels complicated, so I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go with the D6, which will technically get rid of that D4 that's coming in. So that's gonna, let's see. So it's gonna step the D12 up and out, which is fine. So that's one that gets knocked off. The 3D6s are going to become 3D8s, so that's 3 more of them. And then the D4 gets erased because the higher effect D6 knocks out or steps down the incoming D4. So 4 of them just got blown away into the woods. 4/5 of them have been blown back into the jungle. So this is Storm kind of in her element, both figuratively and literally. She's in the air, she's using an air blast, but also she's like used to being sort of like a weather witch kind of a situation. So this idea of her kind of showing up and doing this. So we have one left, one mutate left. 3, 4. 4 of them are knocked out. So that's everyone. That was Storm's turn. So then we reset. Storm picks who goes next. And let's see. So she just blew a bunch of them away. Feels like we would pick back up with the T-Rex now, yeah? Like she would turn around and see that Hank is on the ground. So she would probably shout out for Hank. You know, because she's worried about him. Doesn't care so much about Sauron, but probably spotting what he's doing too. And she would rush over, maybe to try to help him up. So she would probably, our focus would shift to Hank just for the moment. But he is very badly beaten. So what does he want to do? My goodness, he kind of needs to like heal up and do like a recovery action. I don't know that I've ever done a recovery action either, but he does have that stunt die. What if we, I think, okay, this is what we're going to do. I think, so when you want to make a support action, you roll to create an asset. We did this last time. You roll to create an asset on your turn, and you give it to someone to like help them out for their turn. So I think what Beast is going to do, because he's so badly hurt, he's going to suggest that Carl turn into Sauron, turn into the Pteranodon form by encouraging Carl to feed on Beast, like to leech his energy. And so Beast is going to make an asset and give it to Carl, and also allow him to transform. Like I said last time, we're bending the rules a little bit, but that feels like that could be something really cool. So, and he's going to push his stress in order to do it, Beast is. So that's going to allow him to include the D12, but then he'll be taken out of the scene, which is really interesting to me. Okay, let's do it that way. So he's going to, like as Storm is coming in, he's going to turn to Carl, and he's going to say, Carl, you've got to do it. I know you wanted to do it, right? Well, he'd be more official about it, but he would say something to that effect. So maybe this time when Sauron transforms, if this works, maybe he has like blue fur instead of green scales. This is what I do when I'm playing games by myself. I love it. And we're going to use the stunt die even, because this is just all kinds of awesome. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a support action for Beast. He's going to go solo. Actually, I guess this is Buddy, because he is calling over to Carl to have him do that. Of course, the T-Rex is like bearing down on them, so this is kind of like a rushing to each other, while Beast isn't rushing so much as like rolling and shouting out. Carl's all about it. D8, because this is a buddy action, plus Smartest man in the room probably feels like it would be a D4. So we'll actually give him a plot point for that. He's got so many plot points. Let's use the D10 for his stunt die. The D12 for his stress. So he is now stressed out. And I'm just going to put an X next to physical to represent the fact that he just took trauma. And actually, is it D6 trauma when you get taken out? It might be D6 trauma when you first get taken out. So that, and then he is passing on his superhuman strength. Acrobatic Master, Cosmic Master, Science Master, or Cosmic Expert. This feels like this might be a medical expert situation. Science Master. We're pseudo-Science Master. So this is all to create an asset to hand off to Sauron, but the side effect of it will be that it will allow Sauron to transform. Nice. So if we go with a total of 18... beasts, total is 18 with D12 effect to give Sauron superhuman, actually I guess it would be like godlike strength, wouldn't it? Let's go strength asset. Now we do get to roll the Doom Pool in opposition to this. I think the Doom Pool is going to beat an 18. Can it even beat an 18? If I do 2 8s, that would be 16. If I do a 10 and an 8, that would be 18, but you got to eat it to beat it. So I'd have to spend a die in order to actually even beat it. But we could roll ones, and there could be a heroic success, which would be even crazier. So let's do it. 2 D8s and a D10. So that's a total of 12 with D8 effect. Transfer complete. Now it was a heroic success on the part of Beast. So when you step up a D12, it actually becomes a D12 and a D6. All right. Now we're not going to worry about the fact that the Doom total had a D8 effect to step down the D6. I think we just compare the D8 to the D12 anyway. So that doesn't so much matter. So Sauron is getting a D12 beast-like strength and a D6. Let's do like heroic nature asset. So like if he does something heroic, because he's not so much a hero, right? And we didn't actually need to spend any of our plot points for Hank to do that. He's got a jillion plot points. Those will be useful later, I'm sure. But we did use the stunt die. All right, so now let's make that note on Sauron's sheet of D12 beast like strength and also D6 heroic nature. So the heroic nature is much more of an asset, where the beast-like strength is kind of just like our way of saying, okay, he now has beast-like strength. Can I put him down here? Where do I want to put him? Can I make it smaller? Yeah. That's good enough. So Sauron is now transformed, but where he's normally got like green, scaly, and leathery wings and stuff, it's blue, and there's like blue fur instead of scales. Or maybe it's like, yeah, it's like blue fur instead of scales. And so he transforms, but like this is like almost like the different kinds of kryptonite. Like he's never been blue before, and he kind of feels somehow a little more noble, a little more like he wants to save Storm or something like that, right? So this happens. The transfer happens. Wah, 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 wah. the transformation happens. The T-Rex comes crashing through. Beast is kind of like behind a tree, like Sauron drags him behind a tree just in the nick of time, and then turns to face the T-Rex. So that was Beast's turn. So now let's have Sauron go. And Sauron is going to... he doesn't have area attack, so he's unlikely to be able to completely beat the T-Rex, but he is going to definitely try to physically stress it out. No, I think he's going to actually try to turn it into a mount. So we're going to use a complication, and we're going to try to step it up past the D8 to knock off one of those dice. But this is kind of one of those situations where it's like, if you have a complication that you're not trying to stress them out, I don't know, it's a weird spot. But rules is written, you use complications when they step up, it knocks off one of the dice. So that's what we'll do. This is very much a solo action. He is essentially jumping on and holding on to like rein it in and to like break it so that it would be docile, submissive. So we're going to go solo. We're going to go Sovereign of the Savage Land. That's a D8. We're going to go Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Stamina, Leech. I mean, I think Reflexes probably works here. Do we want to use Leech? No, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a complication. So Enhanced Reflexes. And then from Pteranodon form, let's use Superhuman Strength. And then from our assets, let's use our Beast-like Strength. Blurring the rules a little bit again. Do we care about any of the SFXs? No. Medical, science, and tech, those things don't matter, so specialties don't really come into play. We've got a good pool, and this is to do a complication. So we rolled a 1 on the D12. How unfortunate, but we need another plot point for that. And let's step up another D8. What can we do? We have 4, 2, 5, and 3. Well, we want to keep the 3 for our effect die to knock off at least one of the solo dice. So let's do the 5 and the 4 for 9 and the 2 for 11. Sauron's total is 11 with D10 effect to complicate and subdue the T-Rex. A lot of hyphens. And we'll spend a plot point to keep that third die in our total. Okay, so the T-Rex's reaction roll, 3d8 solo plus ferocious 1d8 plus huge head, little arms, crushing feet, thick skin. He's kind of like rearing like that. You know, I said like he's trying to be reined in, so we'll go with huge head. And then menace. That is a great pool. Let's have Sauron spend another plot point to buy a stunt related to being Sauron of the Savage Land, probably. But the T-Rex's total is easily a 13. And how much stress does Sauron have? Didn't he take some before? No, he didn't. Did he? Let's scroll back for a second here. Yeah, he takes D8 stress. I just didn't mark it on his sheet. So the T-Rex would also have included the D8 in his pool. So, to be consistent, let's roll that and see if it helps him at all. Nope, it's just a 3. So the T-Rex's total is 13, because we're going to add the 7 and the 6, and then we're going to go with D10 effects. And we're going to spend a Doom die to counter attack. And we're going to step up Sauron's stress to D10. This is a ferocious T-Rex who is just not having it. So this is essentially Sauron is trying to, get control. No, total fail. The beast is not soothed. But now we have Storm. And Storm's going to show up. And what is Storm going to do? I mean, it's certainly going to be Buddy if she tries to direct Sauron. Lightning Blast on the T-Rex. Lightning Blast on the T-Rex. So she will shout out to. She's not even gonna work with Sauron. She's just going to, because she doesn't know that they were working together. It looks like he just robbed her friend of his life force there for a second. So this is her acting alone, and she is more than happy to let Sauron get caught in the fray, because Sauron is, still on the T-Rex, just it's not working what he's trying to do. And she's going to zap the T-Rex. And we're going to go with Dangerous Flora and Fauna. No, you know what? She really needs to get another plot point in here. Let's go Mercurial at D4 to represent the fact that she's not taking the time to assess, or I guess you could see even the strong-willed leader, but either way, the time she's not taking the time to assess, she's just reacting. So D4 for her distinction. And then Electrical Blast, we will give her 1d10 for that. Oops. 1d10 for that. Area attack. No. And then Combat Expert, 1d8. And this is to deal physical stress to the T-Rex. Yikes. This is like the most ferocious T-Rex I've ever seen in these games. Okay, well, so she's gonna... If she doesn't... She's gonna have a D4 effect. It's gonna be 12 with a D4 effect. It may make a difference. So if I buy that, I just gave her a plot point. I'll step up the D8. So now I have 2 D10s. I will immediately spend the plot point because I'm gonna have a D4 effect anyway, so I may as well buy the D4 I have and hope that it helps. For a total of 2, 7, and 5, for a total of 14 with D4 effect. To Lightning Blast this T-Rex. I gotta say, this scene is lasting longer than I thought it would. I've never seen the T-Rex so ferocious. Okay, so he gets to roll 3d8 solo. I think we're going with Ferocious d8. That is definitely helping him here. Thick Skin, 1d10, and then Menace Expert. So again, if it wasn't clear before, I'm including his Menace Expert because just his mere presence is... If he was going against... I mean, I guess maybe Sauron... If it was Sauron in Sauron's form, maybe I guess the Menace Expert shouldn't apply because Sauron's maybe a little more used to dinosaurs. But like, it's a giant dinosaur. Everyone should be afraid on some level, or affected in some level about the fact that it's a giant dinosaur. 2 hitches. Storm's gonna buy a stunt. It doesn't step up or anything. It's just she gets to buy a stunt. I think Beast wants to buy a stunt too. He's got a jillion plot points. I have this idea that we could have cool things happen to Beast, I think. But we're going against a total of 14, and we can do a 7 and a 6, which is a total of 13, which is not enough. And it's only a D4 effect. Alright, so let's do T-Rex's total of 13 with D10 effects. So check this out. I think this happened last time too. So T-Rex fails. Storm inflicts her D4, but T-Rex's effect is a D10, which is going to step down that D4 and off and away. Yeah, we did, because Colossus was pulling up the deck. Remember that? So this is essentially the same thing. T-Rex is unharmed. So the electricity hits, arcs all across his body, down into the ground, probably picking up some of the fuel that hadn't quite ignited yet, and it's going, it's the whole thing. But the T-Rex is not at all bothered. And I wonder... I know you can inflict the effect die back. Is it... Hang on. Let's check the rules here a second. Because you can spend plot points to Does it have to be back against your attacker? Because if not, and I don't think it does, spend plot points. Or I guess it would be spending a Doom die, sorry, because it would be coming out of the Doom pool. Add an extra effect die. Use an effect die from your action. Just as players may use a plot point to use an effect die from your action roll, you can spend a d6 or larger out of the Doom pool to do the same. Describe how the defending character capitalizes on the opening hero made for him, either as a clever riposte or distraction. So I wonder if we could spend from the Doom die. So you can keep an extra effect die. Normally, if you're making a reaction roll against the action roll, you get a higher total than the action total you've stopped. By spending, you can also use your effect die to create effects. Okay, so I'm gonna actually, between circumstances and the rules being written the way they are, I will actually spend one of my d10s out of the Doom pool to counterattack, but it doesn't specifically say in there that the counterattack has to be towards the attacker, but to in this case to Storm. So I would like the d10 effect die from the T-Rex's roll to go as physical stress to Sauron, who is on or was on the T-Rex and got zapped instead. So the lightning hit Sauron and bled through and off the T-Rex, but the T-Rex was unharmed. But Sauron's physical stress is going to step up because he's going to take d10 stress from the T-Rex's effect die. Wow. It's a good thing if this T-Rex ever gets a hold of Carnage. Although Carnage wasn't super bad. Carnage was bad, but not super bad. I've had Carnage scenes go really like this. Like, this is amazing. I'm just like in awe of this T-Rex. Spending a Doom die to inflict that d10 on Sauron as physical stress. Awesome. So Storm's attack failed, and now the T-Rex and the mob go. So this is what we're going to do. The mob, it's not really much of a mob now, there's just a few of them left. I think they are going to give their helping die to the T-Rex because there's not really much that they can do on their own. They could make a pool of 3, but it's not super, and I guess area attack or whatever, but they're not going to do that. I'm going to give their... let's say, do we want to go Swarm? We've got two folks on physical stress. Well, one is stressed out. One is almost stressed out. I think they might just try to attack Sauron. Now the T-Rex, yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll have them attack Sauron. They see him on the ground. The T-Rex is distracted by Storm, or wanting Storm. So yeah, let's do that. We won't do a helping die situation. We'll have the mob of mutates actually try to grab and capture Sauron, beat him up, whatever. This false king, it looks nothing like their normal one. Yeah, I like that. So it's just 1d6 that they're getting for their team die, but we'll then add in the 1d12 from Sauron's stress. We'll add Savage. Or do we want to do Dangerous Flora and Fauna? No, we'll do Savage. And then we'll do Grab, 1d8. It's not area attack. So this is to do physical stress on Sauron. Nice. I will... I think I'm going to spend this last Doom die to keep a third total. So we're going to go the 11 and the 5 and the 4 for a total of 20. With a d8 effect to inflict physical stress on Sauron. So Sauron's going to get his reaction roll. 20 is pretty high though. Solo. Sovereign of the Savage Land, gifted. Yeah, probably Sovereign of the Savage Land. No, I'm going to go dangerous flora and fauna because he's getting beat up by some of the dangerous fauna. Technically, they're not really animals, I know that, but that makes more sense. Or you could even say he's hindering the Sovereign of the Savage Land because he's getting beat up. So D4 for that, and then Energy Vampire. I mean, I don't really even see him like succeeding too much in this, but he is going to be trying to roll around a bit. And then Enhanced Durability from the Pteranodon form, but the Flight and the Superhuman Strength. I mean, he could fly away. He could try to fly away. He's got beast-like strength, right? As an asset, so he could use that to push them off, I guess. Yeah, well, let's say he's using Supersonic Flight D8 and Beast-like Strength D12 to try to like push them off and escape. Like he's just trying to get out of there. So if he like he's not necessarily like trying to run away completely, but the way that he's dodging this attack or reacting is he's going to try to actually take to the skies. Can he do it? He's got a 1, so let's give him a plot point and get me a Doom die. But his 1 was just on the D4, so he's got a 12 and a 6 and a 2 and a 3. So he has to spend 2 plot points because a 12 and a 6 and a 2 is 18. He's got to get the 3 in there as well. So if he spends 2 plot points, he can get a 21. I like it. So what we'll do is we'll have him spend 2 plot points for a total of 21. With the D8 effect. Oh no, I guess it would be a D4 effect, wouldn't it? I was gonna have him inflict it, like do a counterattack as a D8, but he doesn't have a D8 to do that with. Yeah. Okay, that's fine though. So he pushes them aside and is able to kind of take to the skies. But because of his noble nature, he's not going to leave the scene. He's going to hang out with Storm. Incidentally, these have been X'd out. You don't get to add those in as opposition the way you add in like everybody else's stress. You don't get to add in like 4d6 or whatever. I don't know if that was explained last time or not, but those dice are just like gone now. Okay, so then we come to, so that was the mob. So we come to the T-Rex. Now the T-Rex, I think the T-Rex is going to just try to like chomp. Is that what I want to do? So we could do a complication. How could we do a complication? We could do mental stress or emotional stress. But if they're up there, he can't reach them. I wonder if this will be a situation where I can spend 3 plot points to just out-complicate the gigantic T-Rex. How many plot points does Storm have? Just the 1 and a stunt die, and he has 1 and a stunt die. Okay, well, we'll have him try to deal some kind of stress or complication here. I guess just emotional stress. Things are not going so great. 3d8. Oops, we roll 3d8. Ferocious, stupid, hungry. Yeah, ferocious. I'm not really hindering him a whole lot. I don't mind the Doom Pool running down in this case because this has been pretty devastating. Crushing feet. He's roaring, so this is more like a huge head. double or step up huge head on an action against a single target, and then shut down huge head. Let's say he's doing this against Storm, because I don't think you would be able to scare Sauron, especially not in his Pteranodon form. So this isn't really area attack. So this is specifically to scare Storm, like cause her to be overwhelmed with anxiety and fear. So we're actually going to step up. We're going to take Crushing Chomp, step up huge head on an action, and then shut it down. So let's throw an X on huge head. And then Menace Expert, 1d8. Yeah. And this is to do E-Stress to Storm. So we can do a total of... Oh, I should have hindered myself so that I could get a d8 and a Doom Pool so I could keep a third die. But that's alright. We can do 9 and 7, which is 16. T-Rex's total is the 9 and 7 for 16 with d8 effect for E-Stress on Storm. She is very much alone, so 1d8. Strong-willed leader. I feel like things are falling apart, so this is going to be a d4 for that, but this gets her another plot point. Electrical Blast, Enhanced Senses, Subsonic Flight. You know, she's in the air. Combat Expert, Psych Expert, probably. Probably Psych Expert, trying to calm herself down. Alright, let's give her another plot point. And step up this d6. Whoops. Step up this. Stop it. Step up this d6 to a d8. Oops. Guess we don't need to do that. And Storm's total is... We can make a 10. We can make 13. So let's do 13. Spend a plot point to keep an extra die for a total of 13 with d4 effects. Storm takes, because otherwise a heroic success would step up the T-Rex's d8, right? So Storm takes d8 emotional stress. But you know, and I know, and the American people know that emotional stress on Storm is actually kind of a cool thing. So that was the Watcher characters. So then what we'll do is we'll reset the turn, and then ordinarily it would be, oops, I think I moved the, did I move the words too? Oh, I moved, okay, I see what I did there. All right. So this is the beginning of the new round, but what I will actually do is I will exploit this loophole of spending a plot point to trigger the to activate the T-Rex's limit, and I'm just going to close out the scene here and have Storm spend her remaining 2 plot points, and Sauron spend his remaining plot point. And what we're going to do is, and again, this is kind of fudging the rules a little bit, but we are going to activate the limit to turn a theropod power into a complication. In this case, we'll have it just be Crushing Feet, because he's not tall enough. And we'll do that 3 times. And when you turn that D10 complication, or when you turn that D10 into a complication, it knocks off one of the solo dice. So what we're effectively doing is saying that we are now so far out of his reach that he is no longer a threat. And so the scene is essentially over. So we will wrap it up, and we will say that, you know, that they're able to fly up. The mutate is not an issue. In fact, maybe there's a little infighting, and the T-Rex chases the remaining mutates off into the jungle, leaving the immediate clearing, and Sauron and Storm are able to come down and take care of Beast. And then that actually leads us to some really interesting possibilities for like a transition scene here that I hadn't anticipated, but that's fine because the scene went on pretty long and it was very action-packed. Our Doom Pool is almost gone, but we have lots of stress on the table. So Storm has a stunt die, and I don't think technically that stunt dice are supposed to carry over, but we're going to let it carry over. But no plot points and D8 stress. Beast has 4 plot points, a stunt die, and D8 physical stress and D6 physical trauma, because once it steps up, I think I'll double check it for next time whether it starts at D4 or starts at D6. I feel like it starts at D6 for some reason, but I could be very wrong on that. And then Sauron also has no plot points and D12 physical stress. So definitely we need a transition scene to kind of get these folks back up in action. But that is what we had planned for today. I think it went really well. Let me know your own thoughts, comments, observations. If you see something I did wrong, as always, let me know and I will add that to the description block. I think we did mostly pretty good today. But we may have missed stuff. There was a lot of stress and a lot of plot points flowing and everything like that. So it's very possible, very probable that I messed something up. I hope if you have any questions that are just kind of general related to Marvel Heroic, feel free to ask as well. Someone did mention in one of the previous videos if I could talk a little bit about Mythic, or I actually don't use Mythic GME so much, but like the solo tools that I use. Obviously I'm not really using solo tools for this. I'm just kind of like weaving the story and following the dice, so to speak. But I do plan on doing a video at some point about them, so there might actually be a little bit of a delay between our next part of this and then I might put a little video in between about solo playing in general, specifically with Cortex, because it's not as crunchy perhaps as other systems, so it is a little bit different in terms of how it works out. Anyway, so that's all been said. That's all we wanted to do. So from Scott and the boys and myself, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Excelsior.